Hello, world. This is John Pinto, your roving realtor, bon vivant, video blogger, podcaster, raconteur, with John Dudek from Sage Settlements Consulting. Hi, John.
How's it going, John? Good to see you again.
Fine and dandy. Always good to see you. Here I am in what looks like the Garden Court in the Sheraton Palace Hotel, right?
It does. I mean, it looks very exotic. Looks very, wish I was there with you.
That's right. That's right. I'm actually in Napa right now, but I like this virtual background. So, getting to the task at hand, we're going to talk about the benefits of a structured installment sale. Again, just remind our viewing audience, what is a structured installment sale?
So it's a tax deferral strategy. Again, I say this all the time, underutilized tax deferral strategy that allows people to essentially spread out the sale of their home or investment property or highly appreciated asset over a period of time, deferring capital gains, hopefully with the right financial planning, getting them into lower tax brackets so they pay lower taxes over time. And it's three-party transaction with the buyer, the seller, and then our trusted life insurance carrier, who's MetLife, that gives the stability and financial security to the seller that they're going to be receiving payments from a highly rated financial institution.
Very good. That's very helpful. So let's first address the idea of deferring and lowering long-term capital gains taxes. And let me come from a base. We traditionally have very low inventory in California, especially now. Homeowners, investors are blessed owning highly appreciated real estate, but they do not want to sell because they look at it very binary. I either hold on to the investment or I sell it and pay capital gains taxes. So just remind us, and I do want to get specific into the brackets, the worst case brackets. If one of those sellers were quote unquote forced to sell or chose to sell, what would be the worst case brackets on federal, state, and the Medicare tax?
Right. Yeah. So the federal rates right now, it's 20% is the highest long-term capital gains rate. In the state of California, which I think is the highest in the nation, it's 13.3% is the highest bracket. And then the net investment tax or Medicare tax is 3.8%. So when you add that all up, you're looking at 37.1% is possible to be subject to long-term capital gains.
So if you were to sell for cash, which many property owners choose not to sell at all, but if you were, that means you would be receiving 63 cents on the dollar, and then you would choose what to invest that 63 cents in after you took cash and triggered that taxable event. Is that accurate?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You're getting the post-tax dollars, and then you can choose to reinvest at that time and go from there.
Okay, so on the structured installment sale, you only pay the taxes depending upon when you receive the money over a series of installments. And I believe in order to qualify, it's got to be two installments or more. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, it's just one installment has to be received in the tax year after you make a sale or sell your property. So again, if you did it in 2024, you made your sale in 2024, you have to receive at least one payment in 2025. But yeah, you only pay taxes on the money that you receive in each year. So if you have $1 million sale, you want to do a short structured installment sale, you can spread it out over 4 years, receive about $250,000 a year for 4 years plus some interest. And you've lowered your amount subject to capital gains from $1 million, where you're going to hit all those high brackets that we talked about, to $250,000 per year, which gets you into much more favorable brackets that you can manage a little bit easier.
Which would reduce your collective federal, state, and Medicare tax brackets by about 13.3%. Is that right?
Yeah, in most cases, I mean, it's, you got, it depends on your other income and things like that. But yes, that's, in most cases, you're going to have a significant savings and really wipe out the net investment tax altogether.
Okay, so let's talk about creating that reliable stream of income. We've spoken about working with 100-cent dollars instead of 63-cent dollars if you had to pay taxes on it. First, let's get one thing out of the way. In year one, the amount of equity that you're receiving in year one, that's got to be the first calculation. How are you calculating how much taxable income most property owners, homeowners are taking in year one?
Well, I'll kind of give the disclaimer here that I'm here as the broker for the structured installment sale. I'm not a CPA, so all of this is in conjunction with your advisors, whether that's your attorneys, CPAs, or financial advisors. But every situation is different. Some people will take a significant portion in year one because they're going to put it towards another home if they're selling their primary residence and they're maybe moving to a different state out of California, which is pretty common these days. So they'll take about half and put that towards down payment of the new home. Some people, if it's an investment property or if they don't need the liquidity right away, they'll just take a very small portion in year one. They'll take a proportional amount. If they're splitting it up over 10 years, they'll take 1/10 in year one, 1/10 in year two, so on and so forth.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. I figured they'd start the amortized installments with an equal first installment to the other 9-year installments. So as far as the a reliable income stream is concerned, can you tell us what the fat part of the bell curve is, what the minimum time is that people usually will take their installments, what the maximum time is, whether they take them on a monthly basis or an annual basis?
Or yeah, I mean the way that's set up with our carrier partner MetLife, they essentially allow you to take it up to 40 years. That's the maximum. So if you really were looking for a aggressive deferral strategy. You can take your payments over 40 years. That's some people use that for estate planning and things like that. But you can do it as little as 4 years if you wanted to. So there's really a lot of flexibility within the way you set this up to meet your specific needs, your family's specific needs. The payments are typically received monthly. They can certainly be done annually, right? They allow you to do it annually, semi-annually, quarterly, or monthly. But I think most people are like the idea of receiving monthly payments over the period of time. The payments are guaranteed and fixed at the time of the sale, so you're not worried about the market going up, down, left, right. You know exactly what your payments are going to be at the beginning of the transaction. And so that gives people the financial stability to know here's what I'm going to be getting. Typically, they're fixed payments. We talked a little offline. You're able to do to build in a little cost of living adjustment where you have a slight increase in your payments over the life of the contract. But that's a personal choice that we get into in the planning stage.
Okay, now you strategically discuss with the property owners what those thresholds are, and I will make the same disclaimer. I am not a tax attorney. I am not a CPA. But quite frankly, as a realtor, you do have to wear many different hats. You have to have an awareness of tax implications. I feel that it's bordering on malpractice to not discuss the tax implications of a real estate sale and not bring in the CPA and the tax attorneys early on the process. So um, when you're doing this, you can also do it with a primary residence. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's one of the big advantages. I think everybody that is a property owner is aware of a 1031 exchange. It's very prominent in our market, especially in California. But maybe not everybody knows that you cannot exchange a property through a 1031 if it's a primary residence. So if you're living in the home, I think it's two of the past 5 years, then it counts as your primary residence. You're not able to exchange it and just kind of push your basis off to a new property. So this strategy allows you to have a tax deferral strategy for your primary residence. Again, if you're looking to downsize, if you're looking to move, if you have an investment property that you're going to be making your primary residence already and you want to get rid of it and liquidate the asset, this is a way to do that.
Yeah, let me put it a different way. Um, if you have a highly appreciated primary residence that you're living in, you can turn it into a rental. Um, and you could sell it within 5 years, living three of the five, and still get your $500,000 exclusion if you're a married couple. Or you can even do a 1031 tax deferred exchange after you've had a tenant in there for a while. And then you can move into the smaller properties and live there for a couple of years, get the exclusion, and take $500,000 exclusions over a period of years. The reality is most homeowners do not want to move multiple times, turn their houses into rentals and go through that 1031 maneuver. So I think the simple way of saying it is if you want to sell a highly appreciated owner occupied primary residence, the installment method is a lot simpler than the very complicated multiple moves of moving in and out of primary residences and rental properties and executing a series of 1031 exchanges on several different properties. Have you gotten that feedback too?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think you said it great. This is a ready-made uh, strategy that you can do, the next few months as opposed to the next 5 years. So who knows what the market's going to do and who knows how your situation's going to be. So this is something you can do right away.
Yeah, you can move out of that big house, create your income stream, and live on a cruise ship for the rest of your life.
Cruise ship, houseboat, whatever you want to do, the world's your oyster.
That's right. So let's shift over to investors who are looking at a 1031 exchange. And there's many investors that have been doing 1031 exchanges for decades, and they don't want to do any more 1031 exchanges. They want to cash out, so to speak, and have passive income. And also, most investors are used to trading like for like, a rental house for a duplex for a fourplex for 12 units, or a commercial building or an industrial building. They're not quite as comfortable with trading into a DST. So can you tell us how your banter may go with an investor that's looking at structured installment sale versus a 1031, or a 1031 into a DST?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think it's pretty clear which strategy is going to work best depending on the situation. There's people that want to continue to be real estate investors, real estate owners. They want to continue to hold on to an asset of some kind. And then there's people that don't. There are a lot of people we talk to, they've had a rental property for 20, 25 years. It might have been built in the 30s or 40s. They have tenants that are constantly complaining, asking them to make upgrades, this and that. And they're kind of sick of it. They're saying, if I can liquidate this thing and just get the same or better income that I'm getting from the rental, why not do that? A lot of people, there are a lot of real estate investors out there that are getting a little bit older in age. And believe it or not, there's a lot that don't have any kids. There's a lot of real estate investors that have all this property. They have no kids. They've got no one to leave it to. Why not liquidate it? Why not get rid of the headache? You're going to get better or the same income, and you're going to save taxes on it. So it's very, again, I think it's really clear on which path people want to go. But I think what we're trying to raise awareness is there's people that don't know this other path exists. They kind of think the 1031 or the DST, those are their options. I don't have a cash out option. So we're excited to kind of educate people on that.
Yeah. Let me give you some additional talking points. Have you done any research lately? Probably not, on what it takes a landlord in California to evict a non-performing tenant.
I have not. I just hear the horror stories on the news, but why don't you educate me?
It is not a pretty picture. It is not a pretty picture. So let me give a little context because this is really quite germane to this conversation. The structured installment sales is the right product at the right time. First of all, a little background. A lot of these young assemblymen in the state legislature, California, and to a certain degree, the senators too, cannot afford to even rent an apartment in their districts, let alone
Hmm.
buy a house. So they are still living with their parents or their siblings because they just can't afford to live there. So that is their mindset in terms of how we need to legislate. Then you had COVID-19, which precipitated a fear from the governor's office that you were going to have all these layoffs and evictions and an epidemic of infected people being evicted into the street. So you had all the COVID-19 escalation, which collided with the legislation that was very pro-tenant. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but a lot of the pro-tenant legislation was very anti-landlord, especially small landlords who cannot afford to make the mortgage payments, pay the property taxes, pay the insurance, pay the maintenance if the legislation allows the tenants to get off scot-free for paying the rent. So it is a very, very disastrous, financially disastrous situation for a lot of landlords. And even if it's not disastrous in their experience, the disaster is always looming. Should a tenant have a setback and cannot pay, um, it's going to cost the landlord 15, 20, $25,000 just to sit down and have a conversation with a tenant landlord attorney. So I think you're going to see more and more investors looking to get out of the rental housing business and transfer their equity into installment sales. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think people have a view of uh, real estate investors, and they just sit back and collect checks, and life is easy. But as you've just pointed out, there's a lot of hurdles and a lot of things you need to do it successfully. And I think some people, if they're not doing it full time, are probably had their fill, and they'd like to liquidate that asset and use those funds to live their life to their fullest. So this is a great solution for that.
Yeah. Very good. So today on this podcast, John Dudek and I have been talking about the benefits of structured installment sales. And John, if somebody wants to contact you to discuss their situation and structured installment sales, how can they get a hold of you?
So you'll see my cell phone right below me, the 401 number. You can call me, text me anytime. Email me. We'll send out this information in the details below. But my email is jDudek@sagesettlements.com. My partner Tanis Kelly is tkelly@sagesettlements.com. So you can call us, email us, text us, whatever works. We're happy to work with you.
Very good. And I want to thank all the viewers for tuning in today. And we will see you on the next video blog. Bye for now.